Hey all, welcome back to the channel, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day, and welcome to 2023, the first countdown of the new year. And last week we looked at, as voted on by fans all across social media, the top 10 best Transformers of 2022. Today, again, as voted on by fans all across social media, so this is your picks, not mine, it's going to be the top 10 worst Transformers of 2022. Now, I'll sort of quantify that a little bit in a few minutes, but in general, that's going to be our topic this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe. And while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that in the description down below, also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time right here on YouTube and become a channel member. And this is, as I said, as voted on by fans, the top 10 worst Transformers of 2022. Now, let's be clear. First things first, I would say that in general, based on design and popularity and selection of characters, this was generally a really good year for Transformers fans. However, we did have a number of considerations and concerns in terms of QC issues, in terms of distribution, in terms of availability, in terms of exclusivity, in terms of business practices. All of these things affected so many different people in so many different ways that I honestly believe that the lists of everybody in our community this year, everyone's personal lists for sure, I think would be very different based on your particular explicit experiences with particular explicit molds. So this was an opportunity for fans to vote, and of course this is a representation of the most popular of those answers. To be fair, just because they are listed as one of the top 10 worst based on fan votes does not mean that it is bad, does not mean that it was terrible, but the voters that voted for these particular entries had their reasons for voting the way they did. Truth be told, in a lot of these cases, more than this being a worst offering, it's more of a disappointment because you expected something else, or you expected something more, or you expected something better, for example. So it's easy for people to kind of, get slighted and take exception to certain selections, but realize that, again, this is based solely on fan votes, and maybe you were lucky enough for some of these molds to be issue-free, to be perfect, to be easy to get, right? To be, ideal, in which case for you they might even appear on a best list. All of those caveats kind of in mind, here are the 4 honorable mentions. These ones got votes. They did not make the list. They include the His Tank Megs, the crossover with G.I. Joe. I can see it. A lot of people like it, sure, or they at least like the Baroness. I think the head sculpt on the Megatron is great. The molding is somewhat great, but a lot of people have complained about hollowness and the huge backpack and his fusion cannon kind of being on his wrist, so I understand it. Skids, who I love, but a lot of people said that they had major issues pegging everything in and were very nervous with the excess of translucent plastic, or clear plastic painted, whatever it was. I think it was translucent though, more than clear. Knockout, simply because he doesn't look like the Transformers Prime Knockout. It looks like Jazz doing cosplay. And Wild Rider, not only because there's an excess of the red translucent plastic used, though I do feel that's somewhat robust, but the backpack is atrocious and horrid that it could have been handled so much better. In fact, it was handled so much better because a lot of people said, yeah, okay, so while this is shelled to look more accurate to G1, in essence, this is just the same engineering that we got with Combiner Wars. And that's kind of a lazy way to go about doing it. Those are the honorable mentions, and those are the reasons why people chose them. You get how this is going to go so far? Nevertheless, none of them actually made the list, so you know what we're going to do. We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Coming in at number 10, we have Legacy Crankcase. Now, some people have said, it's an improvement on the Skids mold. I don't think it is, personally. But I know that some people have had great experiences with this mold. Now, here's why fans voted for. One, they said it's the same sort of tabbing issues that we had with Skids. Some said that the little nub shoulder blasters, though you can, admittedly, move this up a little bit, and I didn't show that in the review, though I did put a note in about it. I mean, you can move the backpack up a little bit to kind of make these a little more over his shoulder. A lot of people have said when they go down in the vehicle, it's difficult to rotate them back up for transformation. And the biggest one, the chest has none, absolutely zero friction. It doesn't matter which arm. The chest is way going before the arms are. Some people have also noted that they don't like the grill piece, though I kind of like that, and the looseness of the tires. So there's a lot of reasons that people voted for this specific use of the mold. Maybe yours was flawless, maybe yours was ideal, maybe yours was, in fact, an improvement over the original. But enough fans felt conversely that Crankcase was able to take the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9, this one's going to be controversial because it was also on the best list. In fact, on a lot of people's lists, this is number 1 best for the year. And it's Victory Saber. Okay, first things first, the sword. A lot of people have pointed this out, and yes, I did. When I done the review, I did forget to mention that you can take the blade off and it can slot down in the leg. I find that that's exceedingly loose on mine, so I don't put it down there, and that's why I forgot about it. Why did people choose Victory Saber as one of the worst? Well, first things first, people said it's overpriced. All combined, all in, every single thing here is Commander class in their eyes. I think it's Commander class plus. I went through how I see the entire math and valuation when I done the review. But a lot of people said overpriced. I think a little bit. Not a lot, but I do think a little bit. A lot of people said that they have gross concerns of yellowing. In fact, a couple of people said that there are a couple of spots that have already started to yellow on theirs. I don't know if that's true or not. I have not seen photographic evidence of it. There was, however, misassembly issues on the panels on the legs. I've seen someone who had 2 left arms, which meant there was no elbow here. I have seen people note numerous like paint blotches and splotches and spots where paint has scratched off. The issues with the Micromasters. The hollowness up under the cannons. Like, all of this are criticisms that people have levied, and either issues that they've had because of QC. Oh, some have had like the gold leafing peel off or just not be there at all. So between paint issues, leafing issues, assembly issues, the exclusivity of it, the fact that if you lived in Taiwan, you probably didn't get yours. The fact that if you lived in numerous European countries and had to go through Zavi, you probably didn't get yours. The fact that, you know, people that have had issues. Well, I did hear of one person who had an issue with a missing cannon, I believe it was for Victory Leo, and he got a whole new Victory Leo sent to him. The solution that I've heard the most is send it back, we'll give you a refund. That's still not giving you the product that you wanted. And anybody who has a P.O. box as their address said, well, I couldn't back this thing because they don't deliver to a P.O. box. There was a lot of issues about how this rolled out, about the price, and about the build quality. I'm lucky, I'm happy with mine, but I understand that if all of those things went against you, or if you had a pre-order in that was never filled, then yeah, Victory Saber and his release would definitely fall on the worst list, certainly on the most disappointing, and for that reason, he took the number 9 slot. Number 8 I don't have, but shockingly it's this guy. That's right, it is Cybertron Titan class Metroplex. I don't have this, but the reasoning that I heard was that a lot of people, for whatever reason, expected it to be a G1 Metroplex, and they were disappointed when it came out that it was Cybertron Metroplex. I'm not sure why, because they kind of said all along it was going to be Cybertron Metroplex. Some people, again, have noted that there's already yellowing on certain aspects of the thigh and I think the back of the knee. For something that, you know, has a Titan price tag and is Titan size, that's a disappointing problem. Hopefully it's not widespread. I've only heard of one such report so far. Hopefully it was isolated. He is large. He has a lot of joints. Some people have said that there's inconsistency between the ratchets. With ones that should be strong aren't. Ones that are strong shouldn't be. Some people have said the other robot mode and his weird tractor mining digger mode thing aren't what they looked for in a Metroplex. I can't speak to it because I didn't get it. I'm not a Unicron Trilogy fan, so this one didn't really fall in my personal collection and in my personal vein. I've actually been somewhat impressed with everything I've seen of it, but I also went in with the realization that it was going to be Cybertron Metroplex. For those who expected something different, for those who expected something more, he at least would have been a major disappointment, and for that reason he takes the number 8 slot. Number 7 I don't have, but it might be one of the most maniacal ones of the year, and it's this guy. Yeah, it is Laserbeak, or Pink Bumblebee, if you will. It's a little core class. I think core class is the right size for this offering. However, when I look at the mold, I feel like the legs, especially the knees, look somewhat inconsistent and loosely held together. I have heard of the left knee being very loose on some copies. And I've heard that when you put this into vehicle mode, the tabs and tolerances are also very loose and really don't hold together well at all. I can't speak to it because, again, this isn't in my wheelhouse. I don't have it firsthand. I'm only able to kind of explain to you the reasoning that people gave to me. Plus, some people just said a pink Bumblebee is weird. And some people said I'm still kind of haunted by that scene from the movie when he asked that little girl if her parents were home. It's an odd release that either really hit with fans based on that scene, or really didn't land with fans. There's kind of no middle ground, and enough fans felt that it was a miss that Pink Bumblebee, or Laserbeak if you will, was able to take the number 7 slot. Number 6 I had, but I no longer have, and it's, well, this guy. Yeah, it's the Legacy Blitzwing, and I'm not surprised. It's very rare that I get rid of something. Like, either I, keep it myself and kind of replace something older, or, as is often the case, one of the scraplets, who's also a collector, will claim something older. In this case, he was happy with the Voyager Generations Blitzwing, which I did the shoulder fix on, so he works fine. I'm happy with the Titan's Return, and the Legacy one just didn't land with me. I thought the size was too small, and so did some fans. I thought that while it was nice to have a waist, I didn't like the chunks over his shoulders. That limited like some of the arm movement. Fans said that too. Some of them also noted the beige on his inner forearms. I get it, that was a panel, but I understand why they might be a little put out by it since the whole arm's supposed to be purple. A lot of people said the entire backpack. I mean, there was no way to work that in any better than that gigantic backpack that looks awful in plane mode and awful in robot mode. They said you can take it off and pretty much do the tank and lay it next to Blitzwing. That's not fancy engineering. That's not investing more in engineering. That's making a decent robot and taking all of his junk and putting it on the back. It's lazy engineering and holding it all together with an armature. Big deal. Some people love this one. They really did and said it's the best Blitzwing that we've ever had in the main line. I would say that that moniker still sticks with the Titan's Return, despite being a headmaster. Actually, that's a little bit of a lie too. I would say it's actually with the Takara Legends version, and that coloration. Nevertheless, amid a number of gripes of size, of engineering, of look, of that red line across his visor, a lot of people had a lot of problems, and for that reason, Legacy Blitzwing takes the number 6 slot. And here we are at the most coveted of locations, the ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we actually have 5 in 1 by way of Menasor. Now, not the Stunticons, that wouldn't count. Menasor as a whole would count. So why do people vote for Menasor? Because a lot of people have loved this and have said this is the best Menasor we've ever gotten. I personally like the Combiner Wars because I did a lot of custom fixes and stuff on it. And a lot of people that got that one said, yeah, stock, that's garbage. But they've added like the DNA sets or whatever, and they're happy with it. So what criticisms were levied here with this? First, again, some reports of the armpit, I think, hinge. Yellowing. Some yellowing on this part of the trailer. Nowhere for this part of the trailer to really go, though I have it attached to his blaster here. So this is just parts forming that goes off somewhere else. Some yellowing on, I think, a couple of parts down on the leg too, but I can't confirm that. All but impossible to get this guy on. I have that problem. It's brutal and hurts my hand. And some other people said, yes, it does. People have also noted, again, mine has this as well, that the arm gimmick just plain doesn't work. You can do what you like, but it's not going to come apart based on the way it's supposed to work. Neither of my arms works the way it should at all. I find handling this rough. He does have mass, he does have heft, nobody noted that, but some people also said, in essence, the whole robot is just Motor Master, and like, you don't really combine drag strip, you're just putting on a sleeve. You don't combine dead end, you're just putting on a sleeve. He has a terrible sword, and same here, you're not really making a leg, you're just putting on a pair of pants, basically. I get the criticisms. I share many of the criticisms. I know some fans absolutely love this guy, and it's a shock for him to be on here. But for those of us who have encountered numerous QC issues, or numerous connectivity issues, or numerous failures of the gimmicks working the way they should, then you know what? It kind of ruins the experience. And enough fans felt the same way that Menasor, in his combined mode, ironically, most of those same people said that as Stunticons, they're great. It's just they don't like them combined. Go figure, right? So, excellent Stunticons, rough combined mode. But enough fans felt that way that Menasor, in his totality, took the number 5 slot. Now, coming in number 4, we have an entry on the list that sort of baffled me because I actually really enjoyed this guy, and it's Legacy Skullgrin. A lot of people, man, disappointed in this guy. They said, why was he not a core if the others were cores? Or they said, why were the others cores and not this guy? Here's the thing, and I don't know why people are surprised by it. Fewer people know and remember Bombburst and Iguanus than they do this guy. If for no other reason than he had a head that really stuck off. There's a lot of people, myself included, who this was the only pretender that they had as a lad. So he has a certain kind of higher notoriety. That said, I would say Bludgeon has an even higher notoriety, which is probably why he's getting a Voyager release. I'm okay with these guys being different sizes. That's just my kind of take on it. However, continuing with fan gripes and complaints, they didn't think that the melange here of inner robot and outer robot was successful. A lot of them said he should have had the inner robot head, even though I would say this one's more iconic. Or they said the kind of outer robot, more organic detailing should have probably been worked into the molding of this guy. I think that would have really hurt the tank mode. A lot of people said they don't like the tank mode. It's just a lying down rectangle. So was the original, kind of. But I get the gripe about it. And some people have said that there's concerns of yellowing. And a lot of people said that they did not like that the accessories were done in like that soft, rubbery plastic, as were his horns here, as were these horns. And their concern is, even if the face is done in a harder plastic, though that might be done in a soft, rubbery plastic too. That might be soft, rubbery plastic too. What happens when and if all of this soft, rubbery plastic yellows? What a shame, what a crying shame that would be. And I agree with you. There's a lot of things I like about this guy, but I understand and respect all of the gripes that the voters had. And for that reason, Skullgrin takes the number 4 slot. Man, I seem to have avoided a lot of the fan-voted worst or most disappointing of 2022 because I don't have a copy of number 3 either. Didn't want it, didn't need it, but it was this guy. Yeah, shockingly, it was the Studio Series Bumblebee movie, Soundwave. A lot of people got it and said that they love it. They think he's a fantastic Soundwave. But those that said he's a fantastic Soundwave all generally said the same thing. He's an excellent robot, very nicely painted. I agree. In terms of robot mode, he looks great, very nicely painted. Though a lot of people said that the paint does chip on him. Especially the white. I don't know if that's true. I've never handled it. I can't speak to it. I could believe it, but it'd be a shame if it did. A lot of people like the fact that he can kind of carry Ravage and sort of eject Ravage from his chest. That's wonderful. They like the articulation overall. However, they did say that the transformation is frustrating and finicky, and the resulting mode is really a nothing. This is a case of you get a transformer for the robot mode, and though it transforms because it's a transformer, it was really a waste of engineering, and therefore added to the price, the cost, that it really didn't need to pull off a good-looking robot. I don't know if there's any truth to it. I've heard that he's kind of like a hovercraft mode. I don't know if there's any truth to that. To be fair, I think it's a really neat-looking Soundwave. I have the Siege, I have the Netflix, I just didn't need this one. If you did and you love it, then you win. But enough fans were disappointed with the engineering and the finicky transformation and the chipping paint that he took the number 3 slot. Top 2, and at number 2 we have, well, this character. That's right, it is the Legacy Arcee, and while I don't have the Legacy Arcee, I do have the Legacy Road Rocket, and if the Arcee is anything like my Road Rocket, then I get it. When I reviewed Road Rocket, I said I think the engineering and the thought process that went into that is really, really neat. Jeez. Holy Moses. Let's see if I can, hold on. Let's see if I can do this or not. There, tried that again. Okay. And I agree. I think that the engineering and stuff that went into it was great. I think the look of the kind of resulting robot mode is neat. I don't think that the Arcee head looks anything like Arcee. Only for the fact that I was told it was Arcee, I never ever would have guessed it. I would have guessed Chromia, or I would have said maybe it's one of the, like, females from the female Transformers from like the IDW books or something. I never in a billion years would have guessed that it was Prime Universe Arcee. The bike mode I think does work as Arcee, but I don't think the robot mode did. When it comes to this though, despite the design, I mean, my waist section of Road Rocket was put on backwards and upside down. I literally had to fix the mushroom pegs on both of these legs as they both just popped off. The thigh tolerance is alright, but again, because of the poor tolerances on the shin wants to bend more than the knee. The knee is not quite 90 degrees, but if you do that, I guess you can kind of fake it a bit. Both of my arms, which are pinned, came off and I had to repin them. The bicep swivel I had to fix. This is a mess. This is a mess. Some people have gotten the Arcee mold and it's been flawless. And I said in the review of Road Rocket, if you have this mold and it's flawless and it works the way it should, then it will probably make your best list for the year, because it does have promise to be just that good. In my case, literally every single mushroom peg, joint, pinned hinge, even the whole waist assembly, everything had to be kind of taken from the ground up, worked on, reassembled, and now it works okay, but nothing great. I understand this one because I'm one of the people that had a bad experience with it. So did enough fans that this mold in general, but specifically the Legacy Prime Universe version of Arcee, was deemed a failure, was deemed one of the most disappointing, and was deemed number 2 worst Transformer of the year. And here we are at number 1. And the sad part is I'm sad for number 1 because I wanted to like this. And the only reason that number 1, I believe, is number 1 is because of budget constraints. Is because the penny pinchers got involved and it cost this mold severely. So much so that it became the number 1 worst, most disappointing of 2022. Even the designers said that there were a lot of things that had to go shelved to stay within budget. And I would argue that they cheap out on the budget over profits a whole lot. And this could have, should have been a lot better than it was. And I'm talking about Legacy Pointblank. He has 2 target masters. This is Trenchfoot. I like Trenchfoot fine. And that's who I'm going to use as his target master because his actual target master is pathetic. This shouldn't have been developed. This was already developed. You could have just used that mold with a little bit of articulation. This, I mean, the whole head, torso, arms, all one piece. The legs, one piece. He bends at the waist. It's a waste. When it comes to the actual bot, the back of his legs is hollow as the day is long. A lot of people said that these rounded off thigh or hips should have been squared off, but the biggest thing is the way the arms were handled. They took away a wrist swivel, and taking that wrist swivel away really kind of hurt the ability to turn the arm around and now turn the wrist around to get a full hand usage and a full elbow. It didn't need to be that way. They cut, they penny pinched, and it hurt what otherwise should have been a really great version of Pointblank, because the transformation, especially with the hood, is really inspired and interesting. Goes to show what happens when you cheap out. And there you go, 10 down to 1 once again. Who else had some votes here? The Buzzworthy Cliff Jumper because he was so hard to get. Legacy Inferno because of all of his bug legs. The G.I. Joe Bumblebee offering that came with Stalker. Dead End because of his vehicle mode having some tabbing issues. Exosuit because it didn't need to be there is what a lot of people said. Core Class Hot Rod and Legacy. Who else had votes here? Motor Master by himself. Cosmos because of availability and exclusivity. Fire because Fire falls apart. Same with Holly. The little wheelie that came with Grimlock, although I think that was last year, to be fair. Bulkhead, because, and I love this, Bulkhead was terrific, an excellent transformer. It just wasn't Bulkhead. I agree with that. Excellent transformer, wasn't Bulkhead. Cyberverse Snarl had some votes. 86 Spike, 86 Ironhide, Shuki from the MPG line, Studio Series Jolt, Iguanus, Loose Hips and Legs for Armada Starscream, G-Axis for Yellowing, Crasher for not looking like Crasher, and one last one, Breakdown, because it was a cheap reshell. Anyway, there you go, 10 down to 1. Were your least favorites on the list or not? Again, remember, this was fan vote, right? I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, you, right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way right here inside the videos.